and not justice for all. This is how you go about getting justice for some under these specific circumstances when this anomaly arises. If you're going to get stuff done, you're not going to get stuff done on a universal level. You're going to get stuff done in a very specifically instantiated portion of the population, in a very specific, unique set of the logic, in a very specific, nuanced, itemized set of the ethical theory. Not this general wholesale, we should all roast marshmallows, and I mean, that to me is, it's nonsense in the human sense, right? It's complete nonsense. Sounds good, means nothing. Number 4, in place of moral values, purely naturalistic values, naturalization of morality. And I did, not that Philippa Foot, captures this point entirely. There are weaknesses in her analysis, but she's the first person that came to mind. Right? There is a sense in which our morality has to embrace, in some sense, and now granted, we should be mindful of how much of sort of Darwin's conception we incorporate, because we've seen on a sociological level what happens when you incorporate the biological sort of discourse on survival of the fittest and you socialize it, right? You have the Nazi Party, right? So yes, our ethicists have to be mindful of that. However, you don't have to wholesale reject excellence either. Why is it such an extreme, right? Why is it the case that it's either going to be a wholesale rejection of excellence, right, based on biological, physiological, mental ability, or it's going to be sort of all for all, egalitarian sort of discourse, or a discourse where there is no privilege at all. There is no incentive for excellence at all. Why can't we have a middle ground? Well, the reason why we usually don't have a middle ground is because you have to talk a lot about very, very specific, nuanced systems, as far as I'm concerned. In this particular circumstance, under this particular case, I've devised a means of ethically analyzing just this aspect. As soon as you write that book and put that out, you have more work to do for a different case. Well, what about when this happens? I can't cover that in this. I'm just really talking about, you limit your scope, right? Our job's never going to be done, but everyone's seeking this grand narrative to explain everything, and I think that that's profoundly weak. It's a much weaker, a much broader analysis than a very fine-tuned, specific, razor-sharp analysis that's going to analyze one or two very nuanced points until its most rigorous, conclusion. There's more power in that for me, right? So it's not all excellence and, crush the weak under, dictatorship because we're powerful. That's ridiculous. It's also not going to be, I'm not going to be, sort of this sheepish, someone said sheeple. I love that. Sheeple. It's not going to be the sheeple mentality where it's like, I am pretty good at this, but I'm not going to do it because I might impose a threat to others because my mind is sort of fine-tuned. I can draw, but I'm not going to draw because, it might offend the fact. No, right? There needs to be a middle ground, right? So, yes. Number 4, in terms of our morality, a naturalized morality, with the recognition that we can't just completely co-opt the biological into our prescriptive ethics, because we've seen where that goes. There has to be safeguards and mechanisms in place to protect the population, right? But you have to be very nuanced. You can't just be generalized. And then lastly, and this will end Book 1 and Book 2, which I couldn't, it doesn't seem like I'm excited, but I couldn't be more excited. A necessary transformation. Quote, but where may I look with any kind of hope for my kind of philosopher himself? Nietzsche, it took a long time for us to get here, but we're coming, dude. We're coming. At least for my need of new philosophers, we're coming. For where are there free spirits today? We're coming. Show me a free spirit today. We're coming. Cross-reference, quote, art as the work of the pure free will spirit. So note 468 is the idea that the free-willed spirit, the individual that is wholly beyond the control of any ideological stance, is an individual who embraces true sense of freedom. A non-monotonic logic existence to life, where new information is always absorbed and old information is discarded for the creation of yet new information and rigorous analysis and challenging everything that we see. That's the state of affairs that we need to be in. And individuals who have adopted that state of affairs are the artists. So the philosopher can then be the artist, right? Insofar as the philosopher is truly ideologically free from attachments to anything, right? Not an easy lifestyle at all, I'm here to tell you, but I wouldn't have the desire to live in any other way. So with that, this concludes the entirety of Book 1 and Book 2 of Friedrich Nietzsche's Will to Power. I'm Dr. Jason J. Campbell. Thank you, and have a good day.